Hello, everyone, and welcome to Albion Obsessed. You'll be forgiven if you thought that we had gone away for the season, but we have not. We are here to bring you some extremely good content, if we do say so ourselves. So today we're going to be doing a little special episode for you where we're going to be chatting about the team of the season. When we say team of the season, we mean the Premier League team of the season. But there's a few rules which we'll chat about in a minute. But before we do all that stuff, let's see who we've got on the show today. We welcome Aaron. Aaron, how are you, my friend?
Good afternoon, Tom. I'm very well, mate. Thank you very much. How are you?
Yeah, I'm decent, thank you, buddy. My mum and dad are visiting the West Midlands. They are babysitting currently,
Nice.
so it's all good. It's all good. And it must say, boys, it's nice to see you for like the first time in what feels like forever. It's mad. I see
It
your
does feel
face.
like a while.
I know. It's like we see each other's faces every week, and now suddenly it's been like 10 days. I'm like, where is everyone? Dan, we also welcome you back to the show, mate. Dan, buddy, how are you keeping?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, sun's shining, so it's all good.
Decent stuff. So before we dive in to our team of the season episode, we're just going to chat about a few things that are in the news this week in terms of Brighton and Hove Albion. The first one being that this week we observe the 18-year anniversary of that game at the Millennium Stadium in Wales, where Brighton and Hove Albion won the playoffs. Now, Aaron, you were there that day 18 years ago. Chat about the experience of the day and that penalty, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it was quite surreal. I was only 8 at the time. I remember on the way to Cardiff seeing, it felt like hundreds of Brighton coaches on their way to the Millennium Stadium, and just seeing, just sea of blue and white everywhere. And I remember walking to the ground, and it was literally just blue and white everywhere. And for someone was very used to the lifting and seeing only 4,000, 5,000 fans every week, it was a bit surreal to see so many Brighton fans and just realise how big our following actually was that day, to be honest. I think beforehand I never really experienced anything like that. The game itself was a bit of a dull game. We just really got stuck into Bristol City, and they did not like it in the slightest. And I think that helped us massively. And the penalty, as soon as Ilulumi's gone down, and it was sort of written in the stars that it would be Leon Knight, he was not going to miss. He just wasn't going to miss. And I think he said it himself in the Wifting years. If you haven't watched that, go onto the Brighton YouTube, or you'll be able to buy it online. He said, he didn't do anything the first two legs against Swindon, and he didn't. He went missing, and his contribution to the actual playoff final itself was getting that goal to take us to Division 1, I think it was back then. Absolute scenes. And I remember being really, really hot day, really hot, and just the atmosphere was unreal. Not really had much like it probably since, apart from Wembley, really. Wembley was probably the only other time I've seen fans at that scale in just blue and white. Especially, I think Wembley went to the Green Man pub, and it was just absolute bedlam. It was unreal, really was. But yeah, no, great. 18 years. It doesn't seem that long ago. No, I just remember everything about the semi-finals, and then obviously the final itself. Just, yeah, time flies when you're having fun, Tom.
Yeah, I posted in the group chat the picture of them lifting the cup, as it were. I'm saying, Aaron, do you feel old yet?
Yeah, I really did. It was mad. I was chatting to people about at work about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was like 4 years old." I was like, "Okay." I was like, I wasn't even. So I remember that someone just turned 18. I was like, I wasn't even born then. I was like, that's depressing. And I was like, well, what is this? I was like, am I that old? Yeah. Like I said, time flies when you're having fun, mate.
Yeah, I mean, like if you look at the intervening years between then and now, so much has happened with the club. It's a nice way to start the episode, just chatting about that wonderful day. I didn't get to go myself. My dad and my uncle went, but I do remember sitting in my uncle's house in Bicester with my cousin, and we were watching it on the TV. And I remember just how excited I was that we had won, and waiting for my dad to get back and just ask him everything under the sun about the game. So yeah, good times. But so let's fast forward to now. It's the postseason, and this is my least favourite time of the year. Not only because there's no football, but also because everyone under the sun is going, oh, according to my sources, we have received a £5 bid for Cucurella and it's been accepted. Dan, we've had a lot of rumours about Cucurella apparently moving to Man City. It's funny that as soon as you ask someone who their source is or where the evidence for this is, they quickly go quiet. But what do you make about all this noise about Cucurella apparently being courted by City? Is it all just noise, or do you think there's any validity to it?
I've always said you always think that there's always smoke. There's no smoke without fire. So I always think there might be something there, but obviously I don't know how they would know. Only from either from Man City's end, or they've got a source inside the club, which probably be very unlikely. Cucurella did have a good season last season. I can see why someone like Man City would be trying to be wanting to sign him, but the money that's been bandied around, I don't even think we would even entertain the idea of it. I think even with a double profit, I think he's worth clear what they're asking for, if that's even the real number. But yeah, that's what happens when we're doing very well. If we finish the season very well, we finish in a decent place. There's always going to be the noise that people want your players, and unfortunately, we can't stop that, and just have to sort of trying to wield away from the fiction to the fact, and just rely on our own sources, which is pretty much as Brian Owen and Andy Naylor. Really, that's really the only ones we can really trust, other than just seeing little Twitter accounts everywhere, just with like 60 followers, 30 followers, or whatever, saying, "Oh, I've got these sources." You can't. Yeah, you're a new account, mate. How can you have these sources already?
Yeah, it's like, come on. The only sources you've got are brown and red in your fridge or your cupboard, wherever you keep your sauce. Yeah, it's a load of nonsense. But as you say, Dan, it's completely understandable. It happened last season with Basuma, happened the season before with Ben White. We're a relatively small team compared to the Cities, the Chelseas of the world. And when we do play well, when we finish the season strongly, our better players are going to be sort of in the conversation. And Potter has said it before as well. That is part of the model of the club. We buy players in for relatively small fees, and then we sell them on. I see that Østegård is being courted by a side in the Italian league at the moment, with reported 3 million euros, I think it is, which is about 3 times what we paid for him. That is the Brighton model, but Østegård isn't part of those first team plans, whereas Cucurella very much is. He's got 4 years left on his contract. So no matter what happens, whoever wants him is going to have to pay the money that we want, similar to Ben White last season. Aaron, would you be disappointed to see Marc Cucurella depart after only a season with Brighton?
Yeah, naturally be disappointed. I think he's probably one of the best signings we've made in probably our Premier League era, really. The actual impact he's had. I wouldn't blame him if he went to City. I don't think anyone could really begrudge him of that. I think, playing under one of the best managers in the world, one of the biggest clubs in European football. And will he start? Probably not. He probably won't start over João Cancelo and Walker right back. He's just not going to. Will he be willing to sit on the bench and be the sort of Zinchenko where he's playing that role now? He comes on and plays like 20, 25 games a season, where at Brighton he'd be playing near enough all of them, and probably including the cup games as well. The money that's bound sort of bouncing around it, I don't believe it for any sort of second. It's going to be sort of 60 plus for me. 4 years left on this deal. If anyone thinks that we'll be able to get, City will be getting him for anything less than that, then I'll be very surprised, because he's better than Ben White. He's got a better prospect than Ben White, and we sold Ben White for £50 million. And even then, I was a bit surprised how much we got for him, because I didn't think he was that great. Not £50 million great, but then you look at Harry Maguire, and then he's £80 million worth, which is just madness in itself. But I think that was just Leicester taking the piss out of United, to be honest. But yeah, we just have to wait and see. This is always the thing. We've had, like you said, Tom, we've had this last couple of years with Basuma and White, and if it happens, it happens. There's no player bigger than the club. We'll have a lot of money in the bank. I think it would be worse if City went after Potter instead of Cucurella. That would have been that's probably the worst case scenario, is us losing him than losing any player at the moment, I would say. But we have to wait and see.
We certainly will do, and it's just worth remembering, as you say, Dan, as you've alluded to, the sources that I trust: Brian Owen, Andy Naylor. They don't always get things right. Famously, Andy Naylor said that Bobby Zamora would not be returning to Brighton. Obviously, that was incorrect. He also said, I think, Mikael Smith wasn't coming to Brighton. So, of course, these guys do get things wrong. But what I will say is that Brighton play their cards so close to the chest in regards to ins and outs in this club. I refuse to believe that Tony Bloom is just going to let it slip to one of his casual mates that Cucurella is leaving, that Basuma is leaving. That's some of the rumours that I've seen on Twitter. What I would say to anyone who sort of reads these rumours, take everything you see, everything you read with a mountain of salt, and just wait for the official channels, the people that actually do this job for a living, instead of an account with, say, 500 followers, because it doesn't mean anything. I could start an account today called, I don't know, Rainbow Institutions Limited, and I could give it a nice, lovely bio about, I'm a former player at League One level, and now I'm a manager. Blah 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 blah. It doesn't mean anything. So yeah, and if you're wondering why I said rainbow, it's because I've got this lovely little rainbow that sat on my desk from back in the COVID days. So yeah, that's why I said rainbow, because it was the first thing I saw. Anyway, so that's us kind of like up to date. So now we've gone 18 years to now, and now we're going to go sort of, I guess, 2 weeks ago, because now we're going to chat about the team of the season. Now, when we say team of the season, we mean the Premier League team of the season. However, there are a few rules. If you're someone like me who doesn't have a huge knowledge of players outside of Brighton, it'd be very easy for me to say, right, in goal, I'm going to have Robert Sanchez. At right back, I'm going to have Joel Veltman, and so on and so forth. So there are a couple of rules. The first rule is that we're not picking any player from the established top six. I suppose it's top seven, because we'll include West Ham in that, I reckon, Aaron. Aaron's looked at me, so we won't include West Ham in that, which is we won't do that, because Aaron's obviously like shaking his head at me there. We won't do that, but you're not allowed to choose any player from the established top six, and you're only allowed to pick a maximum of 3 Brighton players, including the manager. So that does include Graham Potter in there as well. So that's what we're going to do. I look to Aaron to know what he's talking about today, because, as I say, I haven't got a huge knowledge of players. However, I will do my best to make it look like I know what I'm talking about. So I think the best place to start, guys, is actually off the pitch, and let's chat managers. Aaron, if you had to pick one manager to manage your Premier League team of the season, who would it be?
So I've narrowed it down to 3. Which is Thomas Frank. I think he's done a fantastic job at Brentford, and in all fairness, he's done a really good job. David Moyes. I think he's done a fantastic job what he's had at West Ham. I think he's done really well. And obviously, Graham Potter, obviously. But for me, I'm actually probably going to go with Graham Potter, just for the sake of what he's done to the club itself, and finishing higher than Palace, finishing the most points, finishing the highest position. I think that out of the three, they've been a very successful season for Graham.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. Thomas Frank was one of the guys that made my list as well, which we'll chat about in a minute. So good shout there. David Moyes always does a fantastic job with West Ham, has done for the last couple of seasons. Really impressed with the job he's done there. And of course, our very own Graham Potter. So strong picks there, Aaron. And with Graham at the helm, it's going to be a decent team. Dan, manager of the season, who's going to manage your team?
The first one that came to my mind, other than Graham Potter, was Thomas Frank, because literally had to keep them up first season with the team that he has is fairly decent. Because I don't think they really made any sort of additions at all in the summer, not like I think of off the top of my head. Other than obviously then in the winter they brought in Christian Eriksen. When I saw he was up for managers the proper award, I was thinking Thomas Frank definitely won it. Then they gave it to, was it Pep? I was like, that's not he's expected to win the top title, whereas Thomas Frank wasn't expected to probably be where he was near mid-table. So yeah, my pick would definitely have been Thomas Frank.
Yeah, I think just come back to Thomas Frank, as you say, Dan, for Brentford to be, the last day of the season still in the shout for top 10, that's a huge achievement for Brentford as a football club. I like Brentford. I've got a lot of time for Brentford and their supporters. My three were obviously Graham Potter, Thomas Frank, and one that I'm sure will anger Aaron to no end, Patrick Vieira. I think he's done a really good job at Palace, and he's gone. No, I genuinely think that Vieira's done a really good job. I tipped, at the start of the season, I thought Palace were going to be there or thereabouts in the bottom three. Untested manager, not a great squad, but they've done decent. I think we have to acknowledge that. As painful as it might be to say, I do think he's done a really good job, and it annoyed me to no end when the season did end to see Eddie Howe's name in that sort of conversation about all the best managers, because I totally understand that January, Christmas, Newcastle looked dead and buried. So I totally get that he's turned that club around, but he also spent £95 million. It's not a fairy tale. You give that money to Norwich, Burnley, they're not going to be in the conversation. Well, maybe Burnley, but when you give a club the best part of £100 million to spend on players, although it's not a silver bullet, I mean, look at QPR in the past, look at Everton, they spend, tons and tons of money. Look at Fulham. It doesn't always work, but it can certainly help you survive. So I don't think it's a fairy tale. I think Eddie Howe has done a good job, but it would have been an even better job. And maybe he could be in that shout if he had gone and spent 100 odd million. So for me, Eddie Howe's not in the conversation. For me, it's very easy to sit here and say Graham Potter, he's done a fantastic job. But for the sake of this episode, for the sake of my 11, I've gone for Thomas Frank, the Brentford manager, because I think he's done a really, really, really good job. So that's my pick. Aaron's went for Potter. Dan's gone for Thomas Frank, as have I. So let's move to the man. Oh, Aaron's going to say something. Go, Aaron, go.
We can cut this bit out. Are we going to do a combined 11 at the end? So we use our... No.
Yeah, no, just do your own 11. I think we won't do I think it should be so-and-so. I think just,
that's
just
fine.
say your piece and then cool.
Yeah, cool. Do you want to cut me back in again?
Joe, cut us back in. So let's start off then on the field with the man between the sticks. Aaron, as our resident goalkeeping expert, who has caught your eye the most this year?
There's definitely names in there. You can say Sanchez for the start of the season and the end of the season for sure. He had a bit of a wobble in the middle. But for me, I've gone for Jose Sarr at Wolves. Very good goalkeeper. Didn't know much about him, to be fair, when he first came into the Premier League. I actually forgot that Rui Patricio left for Rome in the summer, and he was a very good goalkeeper, to be fair, so it's big gloves to fill. I mean, he's done a fantastic job. I mean, he's a fantastic shot stopper. He's very demanding for quite a short goalkeeper as well, which you don't really get very often. Normally, you get short people in goal; they're not very commanding. Matt Ryan, but yeah, for me, he's definitely my top goalkeeper outside the top 6 this year for me.
Really good shout, mate. Yeah, I actually named that as soon as you said. I went, oh yeah, of course, he's had a really good season. I think Wolves have done quite well this season, actually, but they tend to. I thought they might fall off a cliff when Nuno left, but actually no, they've done really, really well. Dan, who gets your goalkeeper spot in your team of the season?
If this has been like a clean sweep, it's Jose Sarr. As soon as everyone else has said, when he first came in, didn't know much about him. Was Ruben Patricio went to Rome. Obviously, seeing now he's now I think they won the Europa. It's a massive gloves to fill. He did fairly decent last season, and for him to come in sort of as an unknown goalkeeper, done fairly well. I think we discussed in a previous episode that they had one of the best defenses. I think was discussed. So yeah, obviously he's the most prime person of that back line. So he's done fairly well. So yeah, he's definitely in mine.
Yeah, really good shout. Really good shout. Now I was in a bit of a pickle because I did want to pick Sanchez because I generally think he's just been so good this season. As you say, in a bit of a wobble mid-season. Obviously, the sending off against Newcastle wasn't great. And it would have been tempting to put Lewis Dunk in goal. But no, I've gone for the Brentford keeper. I've gone for David Raya because I think he's done quite well this season for what I've seen. I mean, again, this is my limited knowledge of Premier League football. I mean, again, it would have been easy, like Schmeichel, decent goalkeeper. But for me, I wanted to pick Sanchez, but there were other positions on the pitch where I wanted to fill with Brighton players. So I've gone for David Raya because from what little I have seen of him, he's been fairly decent. So yeah, that's my pick for the goalkeeper spot. Now, I don't know how you guys have set up your 11s in terms of formations. So what I might do is instead of going through each position, like right back, left back, centre back, I might come to you individually and say, right, talk to me about your defence. Because, for instance, I've gone with a back 5 or a back 3, and then whatever you want to call it. So, Aaron, how does your back line look? Have you gone for a 3, a 4, a 5? How does it look?
So I've gone for a 4. I actually gone for a 4-3-3 as my formation, and I've got 2 centre backs in Connor Cody. I think he's had a very strong season for Wolves again, and Craig Dawson. Believe it or not, I never thought we'd put in that at the start of the season. Every time I seem to have watched Craig Dawson, either on TV or even when the West Ham Stadium, I can't remember what it's called now. Yeah, the West Ham ground. He always looks decent, and he's had a fantastic year. Especially when you're not got the greatest, apart from Rice, the greatest midfield in front of you, and with Fabianski behind you is always a little bit iffy. But I think he's looked really solid, and with Connor Cody, he does what he does. I don't think he should play for England. My personal preference, I don't think he should. There's better players than him. But he's been very, very solid for Wolves. And that Wolves game at the Amex, when they scored, there was no way we were going to equalise. Even though we had a weakened team, they just looked so solid. Him, Kilman, Max Kilman could have got in there. I think he's a really good youngster. It's just a proper Brexit centre-back partnership, to be honest. And then for my fullbacks, right back on for Matty Cash. I don't know what it is about Matty Cash. I quite liked him when he was at Forest, to be honest. And he seems to always do well against us. And fair play to him. He's played a couple of games of Poland now, I think, and he's playing well under Gerrard. And that's really, I couldn't really think of many other right backs realistically that I would say, oh yeah, he could do a job. No, not for the prolonged season. I think he had a pretty good season, in all fairness. And left back Kukurea, obviously. I think he's probably unlucky to not be in the actual team of the season, other than obviously you've got Cancelo and Andy Robertson. Other than that, I don't think there's any other left backs in the Premier League that are better than him at the moment.
Yeah, hard to argue. I think Kukurea is probably from what I've seen, again, limited football knowledge outside of Brighton, and I totally hold my hands up and say that Kukurea has just looked a cut above all the left backs that I've seen us play against. Even like Robertson at Liverpool, I don't think he's been brilliant this year. I would say Kukurea has definitely been better. That's my opinion. Dan, what does your back line look like? And who have you gone for?
So I've gone for back four. So I've got Cash, Cody, Veltman, and Kukurea. All, Cash has done decently. He's Polish international. I think I've done exactly the same as Aaron, but yeah, he's Polish international. Brilliant season. Obviously, Cody being part of that, being the captain of the back line, doing well with the best, one of the best defenses. Obviously, our own Veltman and Kukurea. Obviously, we all know, played amazingly most of the season, as well as Kukurea has. Veltman probably, if any other season, Veltman probably would have won our player of the season. But obviously, Kukurea, amazing, did amazing in his first season. Yeah, that's my back four.
Yeah, decent. Just coming back to Joel Veltman there. 100%. Any other season, he would have been my pick for player of the season. I think he's just Mr. Dependable. Right back, centre back, back three, back four. He's just adaptable. So really, really strong season from Joel Veltman. Now I've gone slightly different. I've gone with a back five. So using wing backs. So at right wing back, I've also gone for Matty Cash. I did debate doing Kyle Walker-Peters because I think he can look really dangerous in that wing back position. But I just think Matty Cash has had a better season than him. And then the three centre backs, I've gone for Mr. Brighton himself, Lewis Dunk. I just think there was obviously a wobble when he came back from injury, which was completely, understandable given the timeout. However, he's just so dependable, real rock at the back, and his passing is excellent. I've also gone for Connor Cody. Again, really strong defender. And then I've cheated a little bit with my third centre back, and I have gone for the man who left us, Dan Burn. Because I think that he left us at a time when he was playing some of his best football. And then when he went to Newcastle, he looked really solid. We love Dan Burn on this podcast. So I had to include him as my team. I'm sorry, Aaron, if that's brought up some unresolved issues and emotions for you, mate. And then at left wing back, I have gone with the man with massive hair, Mark Kukurea. We've already spoken about him. He's just had one hell of a season. Probably best left back in the league, in my opinion. But then again, I am biased. So that's my back five: Cash, Dunk, Cody, Burn, and Kukurea. So, Aaron, let's talk midfield. How have you set up your midfield?
So I've gone for midfield three. Declan Rice has to be in there. Rolls Royce, really. I think he is fantastic. Really is a fantastic footballer. Christian Eriksen, I think the impact he's made at Brentford has been fantastic. Really has. And you can just tell he's a little bit better than what Brentford have. And he makes everyone else that little bit better, which is a quite hard talent to have in your squad. And, fair play to. I don't know if he's going to stay there next year. I doubt it. I from what I've read, he will more than likely be walking away, which would be a bit of a shame. But he's here, he's alive, and that's a bonus in itself. And this one, again, this is something I never thought I would say on a podcast for my team this season. Joel Linton at Newcastle.
I tell you what, Aaron. I think putting Joel Linton in centre midfield was a stroke of genius.
It really was. Right?
It was because he was just a lump.
He was
absolutely nothing. And then as soon as you put him in the midfield, it's completely revitalised the player.
Honestly, he couldn't finish for Toffee. He was awful striker. But then he turns into sort of like a prime Iniesta when he gets the ball and just pings passes left and right. You can take it on players. He's strong. He can win headers. Where's this guy been hiding? Like, you paid £40 million for a number 9 striker, and you end up getting a number 7 centre midfielder. That happened, and fair play to him, really, because he quite easily could have just bottled it and gone, nah, this Premier League lark's not for me, and went back to Germany. But no, he wanted to stay, and he's probably one of their best players really this year, to be honest. And that's credit to him, all credit to him, and the management team as well. To be fair, like you said, it's a stroke of genius.
Yeah, decent shout there, Aaron. Really decent shout. How about you, Dan? How does your midfield look?
I've got midfield 3 I picked Jared Bowen. I thought, as he's now in the England squad, finally as well, he's had a very decent season. Tall Man City, a new one, did it very well. I picked our very own Basuma. We don't need to carry on with what we need to say about him. We all said it. He's magnificent. This season he's shown his worth. He's if this is his last season with us, and I'm glad we saw this amazing player before he left. And he had that little dip, but after that he was amazing. Back to his best. And my last one is I struggled with this one, so I picked Calvin Phillips for some reason because of I used to say it last season when he was injured. I don't think he played against us last season. You could see that they were missing something, and I think when he was out of the team again this time, you can see he's missing something. So really, I've struggled with my last ones, but yeah, I've gone with him.
Calvin Phillips is a funny one. I thought he looked so good in the Championship, and he was so important to the way Bielsa wanted to play. But I think last season he obviously got a lot of plaudits, found himself in the England squad. But this season, I don't know if it's because of injury or whatnot, he just doesn't seem to be in the equation. I think on his day, he's a very fine centre midfielder, especially in that position just in front of a back four. But well, I'm sure there's still improvement to be had because he's still quite a young lad. So I've gone for a midfield 2. Which might be a bit insane. I've gone for a very attacking lineup. I've gone for Basuma. I've said it before on the podcast, that game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, my God, what a performance. And if someone like that can put those performances in, week out, you are onto one hell of a player. Whether he'll still be here for Brighton, come September, come August, who knows? But he makes my team of the season just because watching him on a weekly basis has been a pleasure over the last 2 seasons, really. But, I say that performance against Chelsea for me was the best midfield performance I've seen since perhaps Vicente, which was a long time ago. So I've gone for Basuma, and I've gone for another one that might make Aaron very cross. I've gone for Conor Gallagher because I think no matter how much we dislike the guys up the road, I think you've got to say that he's had one hell of a season. And he reminds me a little bit of Craig McHale-Smith. He just doesn't stop running.
Question, you realise he's a lone player, right?
Yes, I do realise he's a lone player. However, as he's
he is. Fuck you lot.
Yeah. He's had a fantastic loan to Crystal Palace. Whether he'll make the Chelsea squad is up for debate. I don't know if he's really that sort of, if he's good enough to make that squad. He's certainly good enough for Palace, and he's a really decent player, and he's still a young man. So I do think that we have not seen the last of him, and he makes my team because he's just very much impressed me this season. So that just leaves the final part of our teams, which is the forwards. Aaron, how have you gone up top?
So I've gone for quite a narrow front 3. For Alexis McAllister. I've gone for Jared Bowen. And I've gone for Ivan Toney. And the reason I've gone for Toney is I do secretly quite like him, and I shouldn't. because he's quite arrogant and quite cocky, but he's also a very good footballer. He's a very good finisher. He's good in the air, and you know, his goals have helped. I mean, he's got double figures this year. I think 12 goals. I think maybe 14, which is pretty impressive for your first year in the Premier League. Jared Bowen, like Dan said, he's been superb this year. You know, tore City a new one. He's been electric at West Ham. We kept him very quiet at the Amex, but you know, he's still a fantastic player. And I think Alexis, I feel like this year was the real Alexis McAllister, the one who actually all hoped he would be when he came the first time. We were saying, you know, we got the second coming of Messi. You know, he looked. I mean, I can't think of many bad games he had last year. Generally can't, and that says a testament to him really, and how much he's grown, and plus he's scoring goals. You know, he's added that sort of element to his game, which is massive. So yeah, that's my front three. So that's Jose Sarr in goal with defence of Matty Cash at right back, Craig Dawson and Connor Cody as centre halves, with Kukurea at the left back. Midfield three of Declan Rice, Christian Eriksen and Joel Linton. And up top, as we just said, Alexis McAllister, Jared Bowen and Ivan Toney, with Mr. Graham Potter as a gaffer.
I like it a lot. That's a decent team, definitely challenging for Europe. Just coming back to Ivan Toney, what is it he said when he was on holidays? It fuck Brent Ford, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was talking about the Ford dealership." Okay, mate, if you say so. Dan, what does your strike force look like?
All I can say is for that little part there, like, he's the worst liar than Wayne Hennessy. Because didn't he say the Nazi salute thing? And he was just pointing for something, wasn't he? What a terrible liars. Footballers are terrible liars. My forward line, I've also got Ivan Toney. I went Ollie Watkins as well. And I plumped for, I thought my team needs a shit house, so I thought Richarlison. Because, you know, as you've seen probably on TV when he was playing last season, just chucking flares everywhere, basically rile up the crowds, and you know, that's what he's good at. Yeah, Ollie Watkins as well. Yeah, he's done fairly. I thought he's done pretty well with Aston Villa this season. I know he's got decent players around him as well, but he's done fairly well. So yeah, my whole team in total is Jose Sarr, Cash, Cody, Veltman, Kukurea, Jared Bowen, Basuma, Phillips, Toney, Watkins, Richarlison, with Thomas Frank as gaffer.
Nice, yeah. Just talking about Watkins, I like Ollie Watkins. I think he's a really good player, really pacey. He hurt us a lot when we played them at the Amex. So he actually makes my front three as well. So I've gone with a sort of a very interchangeable front three, a lot of pace, a lot of technically skilled players. So I've gone with Ollie Watkins. As I say, pace for days, really good player. I've also gone for Jared Bowen because, again, you know, he's just done so well at West Ham this season. And I've also gone for a bit of a mad one, and that's Maxwell Cornet, because I think he's been for Burnley. So he's such an exciting young player. And you might think, Tom, why on earth have you put a player in there from a relegated team? And that's just because every time I've seen Burnley on Match of the Day or on highlights or whatever, whenever Cornet's played, he's just looked so exciting. He's looked direct. He's looked pacey. And I like that about a player. And I think if you're going to go with that sort of very interchangeable front three, that's the sort of player I would look for. So my starting 11 as follows. In goal, I've gone for Raya from Brentford. Then I've gone for the back five of Cash, Dunk, Cody, Byrne, and Kukurea. A midfield two of Basuma and Gallagher. And then a front three of Cornet, Watkins, and Bowen. Managed by Thomas Frank. So there you have it, guys. There are our teams of the season. Now, I've already said it, guys, but I'll say it again. I hold my hands up and say that I haven't got the best ball knowledge outside of Brighton. So if you want to slate me in the comments, feel free. Don't really care. But I hope you have enjoyed our episode. If you would like to share your team of the season, please do drop us a comment down below or at us on Twitter, because we'd absolutely love to see who made your teams. If you could follow the same rules, though, as we have, that'd be fantastic. In the meantime, though, guys, we've got lots of amazing content coming at you very soon. We've got an interview with Johnny Cantor next week, which is going to be really exciting. We've got our end of the season quiz, which we are still trying to organize. Who would have thought organizing 7 people to be available at the same time on the same day would be so difficult?
To be fair, that's mainly down to me, to be fair.
Damn you, Aaron. But also we're trying to get guests involved as well. So yeah, it's been a bit of a mare, but we are going to sort that out. And of course, we've also got a little video about predicting next season's Premier League table, which we'll chat to you about on another episode. But in the meantime, please, if you have enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up. That'd be greatly appreciated. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more if you haven't already. We're Albion Obsessed. Take it easy.